Good evening and welcome to this virtual orientation. I am Professor Safwan Masri, Executive Vice President for Global Centers and Global Development at Columbia University. I'm speaking slowly because I am allowing more people to join. I see the numbers ticking on my screen, and I think we now have a critical mass of those of you who are joining. Really, really, really excited to welcome you. We have been very committed to figuring out how we best serve our international students. We feel incredibly sensitive to the issues and the challenges that you face around the world, in particular in East Asia, but all over the world, being separated from campus, either as undergraduates who are taking all your courses online or as graduate students who are unable to get to campus at this time. And so this initiative, which we've been working on all summer, and we just rolled out last week, is really to try to provide you with some of the aspects, if you will, of being on campus and being a part of a community in the home cities where you are. The orientation consists of a number of brief presentations. I will share with you some information about what this is and what it means. And then we will hear from a couple of my colleagues, Donna Lynn, who is a senior vice president at the medical center, who'll talk about some of the health and safety dimensions that we need to be aware of. We'll hear from Donna McPhee, who is in charge of alumni relations and the Columbia Alumni Association at Columbia, because alumni will be playing a very, very big role in helping support you over the next few months. And then we'll hear from Sarah Rudolph at WeWork, where we have a number of these sites available to you. So I'm going to share my screen and introduce the idea to you beyond what I've already introduced in the various emails that you've been getting from me. But I'll also please remind you to use the Q&A button on your screen to send us questions, okay? Because we will be very focused on trying to address as many questions as you might have about this. So everybody can see my screen? My colleagues, can you confirm that? Okay, great. So the idea here is to provide you with study and community spaces and offer you an opportunity to be with other Columbia students and to get support from Columbia University at dedicated spaces in your home cities. With this initiative, we are coming to you in 16 cities around the world. And I know that we have a number of people here with us today who will also gain access to a number of WeWork sites in another 50 cities. So where we will have, so there's a distinction I'm making between dedicated Columbia sites and then general or generic WeWork sites that are available in another 50 cities. The 16 cities that have dedicated Columbia space are 7 of the Columbia Global Centers, and then 7 dedicated spaces at WeWork sites around the world. And then we have 2 small pop-up centers in other cities, which I will talk about as well. Now, all of these 16 spaces are Columbia branded and dedicated spaces for your exclusive use. Okay, so if it's a Columbia Global Center, you're going to that center, and that center is geared to your needs as students for the entirety of the fall term. If you go to the dedicated space that is made available to you, say in Shanghai, you will go to a floor in that WeWork facility that is exclusively for the use of Columbia students and is branded as such, okay? In addition, as I mentioned, a number of you will get, if you're not in any of those 16 cities, but you are in any of 50 cities where WeWork has facilities, we're providing you with all access passes that will enable you to use those WeWork sites. Okay? So, why are we doing this? Because we want to provide you with spaces where you can study, convene, collaborate with other students, and meet other students from Columbia University. We want to make sure that you're connected with one another as well as with the Columbia community at large, okay, globally and in New York City. We are going to be bringing to you programs and events that are curated by the university and the global centers, but also by your school or college at Columbia. And we have also received a number of ideas from you about programs and events that you want to curate for your fellow students. We hope that this will give you an alternative to studying at home in a comfortable, safe, quiet, communal, and enriching space, and that this will enhance your sense of belonging and connection with one another and with Columbia University, and make you better able to receive academic and social support in your home cities. Now, we went out with a survey before we moved forward with this, and 2,500 of you from all Columbia schools, as well as Barnard and Teachers College, responded enthusiastically and requested access to a global space such as the one that we are offering. So today, we are focusing on 3 offerings, okay, which I will outline to you. One is using dedicated space at the global centers. 2 is using Columbia dedicated space at WeWork sites in 7 cities. And 3, having access passes to WeWork facilities in another 50 cities. So let me go through those one by one. To study, we have 9 global centers around the world, which you can see here on the map, but 2 of them are currently closed because of local pandemic conditions. Those are Rio and Mumbai. But all the others that you see on the screen, all 7 of them are available. Those centers are available according to these to these opening times or these operating hours. Okay. And again, we will share this information with you electronically, and if you have any questions, you can send them to us. If you want to use the space at any of those places, the global center space specifically, you will have received a letter from the director of that center, and you will have also been in touch with the student outreach coordinator at that center. You will need to read and acknowledge the Community Health Compact, and you just have to go to the center after you have scheduled your first visit and bring these items with you. Okay, that's for the people who want to access any of those 7 global centers. Now let's talk about why most of you are here today with us on this session. And that is because you want to leverage one of the 7 Columbia dedicated WeWork spaces. Those are in the following cities: London, Beijing, Seoul, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Shenzhen, and Singapore. Now notice Beijing also appeared in the list of global centers. So in Beijing, we have a global center that is small in space, and that's available. But most of you will use the Beijing WeWork site that we have secured for you, okay? Because that's a much larger site. Now, for those spaces, please note that you can access them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because we realize that with the time zone difference, you will want to use some of those spaces in East Asia, especially late at night, and you can do that. In those 7 cities, you cannot go to any WeWork site. You'll have to go to the site that has been dedicated for Columbia use, that you got the information about in terms of its address and so on and so forth. Okay? Before you use that WeWork space, and Sarah will talk more about this, you will need to read and sign documents that you will have gotten in an email okay, from me. You will have attended the virtual orientation, which you are right now. And then based on your registration in the virtual orientation, we will send your contact information to WeWork, and WeWork will immediately put your information into the registration system. So all you have to do next is pick up your access card from a WeWork site, okay? And you can do that as of tomorrow. So if you're attending the virtual orientation today, the information will be put in the system today, and tomorrow between 9 and 6, and any day of the week, between 9 and 6, you can go and pick up your access card, okay? Again, the site is available for your use 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But to pick up your card, you need to go on a weekday between 9 and 6. What do you have to bring with you for your first visit? Your laptop, a face covering, headphones, and the government-issued ID. If you're in London, in addition to the government-issued ID, you'll also need to bring your passport, okay? And again, Sarah will go into these details at length. Now, let's talk about those of you who are not in any of the 14 cities that I just mentioned, but rather you're in one of another 50 cities, which I'll flash in a second. For those, you will get an all-access pass that you can use at any WeWork site in your city or your country, okay? The other difference is that these sites are accessible Monday through Friday, 9 to 6 only, okay? And these are the cities where you told us many of you are, where you would like to have those all access passes. And so you may be looking at this and saying, I'm in Taiwan, great that I'm getting this, or I'm in Milano and I will be getting this, okay? After the virtual orientation today, again, we will share your information with WeWork. WeWork will put it in the registry. You can go as of tomorrow to pick up your card. But if you're in China, if you're in any of the cities here that are in China, okay, you have a list of 8 cities in China, those will be available to you as of October 9, and that's because of the holiday that is currently observed in China, okay? The other difference is that here you must attest every day, either in person you must attest online, okay, online, okay? If this information here belongs to the other group, the 16, where you must attest at the site. And again, Sarah will talk more about this. May I bring my family or non-CU friends to the site? The answer, unfortunately, is no. This is only available to Columbia registered students, okay? When does the WeWork card expires? It expires on December 22nd, or I think 23rd, whenever the last day of the term is, okay? And then we are posting later on today a frequently asked questions page on the Global Center's webpage, okay? So with that, I'm gonna now turn it over. Is Donna Lynn? Yep, Donna Lynn is there, okay, to my colleague, Donna Lynn, who is Senior Vice President at the Medical Center, who will talk about the health and safety measures that we have put in place at all of these sites, and she will explain why you have to do the attestations and the various things that you have to sign either online or in person when you access these sites. So Donna, over to you.
Great, thanks. And if you get out of your screen, I'll try to share mine. Thank you. Let's see if I've got it. Here we go. Okay, well, good morning, everyone. And I know that this is a tough time for everyone, but I want to make sure that you understand some of the requirements that we have at Columbia in New York that we also feel strongly about extending to each of you to keep you safe and to keep your colleagues safe and to continue being able to offer these wonderful opportunities for each one of you. So one of the first things that you should know is we're asking everybody to be aware of and to attest to something called the Columbia Compact. And that is an agreement around how you would behave both in our global centers, also in the WeWork facilities, but even outside, because when people do test positive, either your individual country, and in some cases, we will be doing what's called contact tracing. And I'm sure you've been aware of this, which is it's important to track what kind of contact you've had with other people. But the compact does other things. It is a commitment to use face covering, to stay physically distant, all the things that you can see on the screen that we have laid out. So first and foremost, we ask everyone to sign the compact. And at Columbia, every single one of our faculty members and staff members have to sign this compact because it's a mutual commitment. And as you've heard Safwan and you'll hear from Sarah, in extending our facilities, we're making a commitment to you to make sure that there are face coverings available, that there is the kind of hand sanitizing and so forth that we don't expect you to come into the centers to bring in. Some of these points apply to the university, but hopefully we'll be seeing many of you back on campus in the spring, health conditions permitting. But we have really changed what the campus looks like, and I know that the other facilities have done very similar things. So we've updated something called our HEPA air filters. We've made sure that we have no recirculated air. There's extensive cleaning. Again, these are protocols that are adopted across the world now and in our global centers and at WeWorks. There's extensive signage everywhere so that we remind you, in case you're tempted to get too close to people. That includes things like floor decals, reminders about sanitation and the like. And then, of course, hand sanitizing stations. The Safwan mentioned the what we call a daily symptom check, which is what we ask you to do when you wake up in the morning, is to attest and acknowledge certain things, that you haven't tested positive, that you don't have symptoms, and that you haven't been around anybody in a close contact way who might have COVID. And so that is a daily requirement, again, to keep everybody safe in these various facilities. We do testing at Columbia. You may be aware of that. And again, should you return to campus, these are things that are in place. And of course, we encourage you in your country of origin or where you might be now to get COVID tests where possible. But again, should you return back to the campus, we have what we call gateway testing and then weekly testing. And as I mentioned, we will be following people. So we reopened, as you know, for students on campus and off campus. We have about 6,000 to 7,000 students here at Columbia on campus. And again, we know that many of you are in other locations and unable to get back to the United States, and we welcome you. And this is just a little bit of a summary of what the compact is, which I mentioned, and any additional information that you need, you should be using our website, covid19.columbia.edu. And again, you can find all of the information, whether it's about testing or tracing, the compact, how we try to adhere to the compact, and other information about the campus and the campus reopening. I will tell you that before November 15th, we will make our decisions about what the campus reopening would look like for January. And so you'll be well informed about that. This is a little sense of what the symptom attestation looks like. Again, at the university, we require people to use a mobile app. We're investigating that for all of the countries that you're in, so that when you go into either the global centers or into the WeWork spaces, that we have something that is a little more friendly than just a daily email, a daily attestation. It's done on the web and at the campus. We're looking at some of the restrictions that might exist in other countries to make sure that we are compliant with them. And I would also say that as you go forward, making sure that you're complying with your country. Should Colombia's restrictions be a little less strict, whatever is the strictest requirement, whether it's around physical distancing or otherwise, we expect, of course, for you to comply with the individual country or with the Colombia standards, whichever is greater. And I do have to emphasize, I peeked at a few of the chats and Safwan was very clear. As much as we would like to facilitate more community, albeit safe community, you cannot bring a friend, a family member into any of these locations. We have a very strict no visitor policy at Columbia because we can't, those individuals don't attest to the same things that we're attesting to and don't get the same kind of testing that we've put in place. We're providing our own face coverings that, again, when you come back to campus, you'll be able to utilize. And then I'm happy to take any questions about some of the safety protocols that we've put in place. And I can take a quick look at the chat. I'll be able to stay on until 10 and look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you. That was very, very clear. And on the masks, by the way, we are trying to get the Columbia University masks to all of these sites so that people can pick them up and start using them at those locations. I just want to make sure that we're very clear on what people do on in person and versus what they do online before they can go to a center or a WeWork site. And I think that information poll is clear in the communications with the students, correct? So you do the waiver, the attestation, the acknowledgement of the policies and the code of conduct online before you go to use any of the sites for the first time. If you're going to be using the dedicated WeWork site on an ongoing basis, you will do the attestation in person when you get there. But if you're an all access pass user, you will have to do that online every time before you go and make a visit. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Donna McPhee, who will talk about alumni in your cities and how we are working on engaging those alumni with you and the kinds of things that you will be hearing from us about in the days and weeks to come as far as events and opportunities to connect with the alumni. Donna, over to you.
Thank you, Safwan. I hope everyone can see my share screen, and welcome to everybody who is joining today. I'm Donna McPhee, as Safwan said. I graduated from the college in 1989, and I'm the Vice President for Alumni Relations, and in that role, President of your Columbia Alumni Association. So I want to give you just a little bit of insight of what we're trying to do with our alumni community. We have 365,000 alumni all over the world, and 45,000 of these alumni are living outside the United States. And we are looking forward to connecting you with them safely and hoping that you have the opportunity to virtually, socially connect with them, possibly in person, as well as to professionally network with them. Our link to a special landing page for students is on the top of this slide here, and we welcome students from all schools. We also give you access to our online directory, so you can search for alumni by going to the online community through this page. We also ask you to sign up for our social media pages through Facebook. We have a recent alumni Facebook group you're more than welcome to join, through Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We have programming all over the globe. The majority of it is virtual at this point. However, there are some in-person programs. It's through See You There, if you haven't heard of it already. The link to sign up for See You There is on the bottom here. In order to get communications for this programming, you do need to opt in. So I encourage you to go to this link, and slides will be available after this program to sign up for See You There. It connects you with regional clubs all over the world. In the city that you're in, if you are going to visit a city at some point when people are traveling more, it's an opportunity to make sure that you have a connection with alumni in a city that you may be new to. Here is a list of the 89 cities where we have our domestic and international clubs. As you can see, it's very vast. If you go to our website, you can learn more about what is happening in these cities, the link to the city, and how to connect with alumni in these regions. We also have events that are happening currently, as I had mentioned, virtually. Here are 3 that are coming up in the coming week. So if you're interested, please sign up and you can see what is happening with the alumni community and learn more about how to make these connections. So thanks for listening. Good luck with your studies this fall. If you have any questions, send us an email, and we look forward to seeing you online or at one of these centers or through our regional clubs. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you very, very, very much. And now we will turn it over to Sarah. Before we do that, just a reminder that we have here again 3 offerings. One is the global centers, which people have gotten all the communications for. The 2 that Sarah will now discuss are the Columbia dedicated WeWork spaces in these 7 cities, and she will also address the all access passes in these 50 cities in that order. So over to you, Sarah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I am going to share my screen and get started. So as Safwan mentioned, I am extremely excited to be working with Columbia across the globe with these global centers and all access. By way of introduction, my name is Sarah Rudolph, and I'm a Senior Customer Success Manager at WeWork. For those of you who might have not heard of WeWork, WeWork is a flexible real estate provider that operates space around the globe. We started our business 10 years ago working with startups. We then got a lot of enterprise companies interested in working with us, and now we are beginning to work with higher education institutions like Columbia University as we explore this new world of learning. WeWork provides 3 things. The first is workspace. Our workspace is beautifully and thoughtfully designed so you can do your best work. We provide community. We have amazing community teams on site at every single building who are available to help you however you need and make you feel welcome in the space. And then finally, we provide services including very fast internet, which I know we all need, printing, coffee, tea, waters, on-site staff, and private phone booths. And we'll get into that more. So the idea with working with WeWork in the Columbia Global Centers is to get away from, working out of our bedroom or out of our kitchen and into a space where we feel like we can do our best work. So with that, I'm going to go into the dedicated spaces so you can get an idea of the places that you'll be going to across the globe. Our dedicated floors have space for you to study at. They have comfortable soft seating like this couch lounge area you see there if you don't like sitting at a desk all day. We have pantries in our space which provide you for a place to keep your lunch or breakfast, make coffee, things like that. We have internal conference rooms, which I'll get into more later, but are great for presentations and collaboration. And like I mentioned, we have really fast internet. So now I'm going to go into just quick pictures of those spaces that you have access to in different cities, so you can kind of see what you will be getting to study and work at. So Parkview Place is in Beijing. 188 Huihui Middlelu is in Shanghai. It has a beautiful atrium, as you can see there. Hongkwok Center in Shenzhen, LKF Tower in Hong Kong, Yeoksam Station in Seoul with this nice outdoor area that you can take a break at, which I'm very jealous of, City House in Singapore, 21 Soho Square in London. So those are the 7 dedicated spaces. So if you live in these cities or you're at these cities for this semester, these are the spaces that you will go to, and Columbia will have a dedicated floor just for Columbia students. So if this is the category that you sit in, kind of to reiterate what Safwan has mentioned, how you get started with getting access to the space is you attend an info session. After attending the info session, we'll get your information uploaded into our system, and then you can arrive at the global center that you are assigned to and meet our community team at the community bar, which is what we call kind of a reception desk, and there's one at every building with our community team. Introduce yourself, let them know you're a Columbia student, and they will get you set up with a key card. From there, we'll need you to verify your identity, and we do that for just safety and security purposes for the building. So with that, as mentioned before, you will need for your first visit a government issued ID in order to verify your identity. And if you live in the UK, you will also need a passport along with your government issued ID. So with that, I'll move into the all access, which is a slightly different benefit, but still very, very cool. So as I mentioned before, WeWork operates space globally, including the cities that you saw on the screen before. So if you live in those cities, you will be able to get an all access pass. And so when I say when you live in those cities, I mean you live in a city outside of the 13 cities that Columbia has dedicated global centers. But if you live in a city where there isn't a global center, but there is a WeWork, you will get an all access pass, which allows for you.
Sorry, let me just make the distinction because I don't want students to be confused.
Absolutely.
So there are 7 global centers. Those are Paris, Istanbul, Tunis, Amman, Nairobi, and Beijing. And then there are 7 WeWork Columbia dedicated spaces. And those are the ones that Sarah has been talking about. Those are the ones also in Beijing, but in addition, Shanghai, Seoul, Singapore, Hong Kong, and London. Okay? Did I miss one? I feel like I missed one. Shenzhen, yeah. Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Seoul, Hong Kong, Singapore, and London. Okay? So those are not global centers. Those are WeWork Columbia dedicated spaces. Okay, just to make sure that we're consistent with the language that we are using, nobody gets confused. And now Sarah is starting to talk about the 50 cities that are outside of those that I have just listed, where there is no global center and there is no Columbia dedicated WeWork site, but where there are WeWork facilities that we're providing you access to. Back to you, Sarah.
Awesome. I appreciate that. So with all access, you'll have access to the common areas in those spaces in the city. So as you can see in this picture, this is an example of one of the common areas that you may be able to work at, either at the long tables, on the couches, and you'll also have access to all of the amenities that are inside that WeWork. So the amenities are access to shared workspace, these super unique and very fun common areas to sit at, business class printers, high-speed Wi-Fi, community teams to help welcome you and answer any of your questions, phone booths, and of course, very important for me, unlimited coffee and tea. So upon your first visit, you can show up at the WeWork closest to you, meet the community team, verify your identity, like I said before. And then going forward, it's really easy to book space ahead of time on the WeWork app, and that ensures that your key card is able to open the door on the building, and that you have a nice space to work. But at your first time, you can just show up. Our teams know that Columbia students will be on site. And just to reiterate again, the all access benefit is a little bit different because you only have access from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. during business hours when our community team is on site. Great. So now I'm going to go over some of the house rules and a little bit more in detail of the features that you get with WeWork. This is just reiterating what we've talked about before of how important the daily attestation is. So please make sure to complete all of the necessary requirements before going into the building, and follow the Columbia Compact. Beyond that, we do have some other guidelines for how to operate respectfully in our space. The first is WeWork, regardless of if you're on a dedicated floor or using all access, WeWork is a community. So to the extent that you feel comfortable and safely doing so, be friendly to the neighbors, whether they are someone that you meet that you see in the elevator or in a common space. It's always nice to safely say hi. Also, you are allowed to talk, chat, collaborate in the space, but we do ask that you keep it at a respectful level. The WeWork locations are not somewhere to be, blasting your favorite new music, but you certainly can chat and collaborate. Finally, on this column, we ask that you stay safe by only letting in yourself when you open the doors and not letting in people that you don't know behind you. So we can make sure that the space is safe and secure. In terms of respectfulness of this space, we ask that you leave no trace. So if you work somewhere for the day and you have note cards and coffee and all of that, that at the end of the day, you pack up, you clean up, and you take away your mug and bring it into the pantry so it can be cleaned. We also ask that for certain amenities that I get into, you watch the clock, and limit use to 30 minutes. I'll get into this more later. And then finally, in order to be in compliance of the Columbia Code of Conduct, please no alcohol consumption or guests on site. Next, I'll get into our community management team, which I'm very excited that you will be getting to engage with around the world. Our community management teams are the teams that are in our buildings on site. I've personally visited community teams across the US and Canada, and they are all amazing to work with, and you're gonna love getting to know them. Our community management team is at the community bar and in the building and available for support from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day. I'm gonna just quickly go over the friendly faces that you'll see in the dedicated spaces so you know who to look out for. In Parkview Place, we have Wendy, Candy, and Vita. At 188 Huey Road, we have Adriana Tay, who's amazing to work with. At Hong Kwok Center, we have Hang, June, and Helena. At LKF Tower, we have Prashati, Tommy, and Phoebe. At Yoksam Station, we have Tajan and Duke Yong. At City House, we have Gabriel, Christina, and Gabrielle. And at Soho Square, we have Cedric, Jacob, and Larissa. So these are some faces to look out for if you get into the building and need a friendly face and some assistance. Additionally, we do have, like I mentioned, great Wi-Fi on site. You can find information on how to connect to that Wi-Fi either by asking the community team or by checking out the WeWork app, which will have all the information that you need to log on to the Wi-Fi, whether it's on your phone or on your computer. Additionally, we have printing in our buildings. We have these really nice business class printers, as well as these printing nooks, which have things like staplers and tape, shred bins in case you need something shredded. We do have two different...
Let's remind students that they don't pay for anything, okay? You don't pay for access to the sites, you don't pay for your coffee and water or for printing, right?
Yep, so you do have printing available for you. We have two different printing systems. One's called PaperCut, one's called HP Roam. You can find out on how you can get set up with those systems, again, by looking at the WeWork app or by asking your community team. Next, we have conference rooms. Our conference rooms totally range from what you can see on this screen, which is very casual, fun, collaborative space that maybe you would want to work on a group project with, to more boardroom style rooms that would be great for presentations or more formal meetings. One thing I would like to reiterate about conference rooms is you do have conference rooms in the dedicated spaces, and they're really made for small group collaboration and presentations. They aren't private study areas. The space with desks and lounge areas and the kind of large dedicated space is for studying. The conference rooms are really for, like I said, small group collaboration and presentation. One more important thing to note about conference rooms is in order to adapt to COVID-19, we do need you to safely distance in the conference rooms. So please follow the signage on the doors so you know how many people can fit in that conference rooms and where you can sit safely. Similarly, we have phone booths. Phone booths are great. They're kind of like a private conference room for just you. So really good to take one-on-one Zoom calls or interviews for internships, things where you just kind of want to have private distraction-free time. Our phone booths are one of our most loved amenities here at WeWork. So we do ask that you limit your time to 30 minutes in the phone booths so other people can use them. Phone booths are also not kind of private study areas. They are really for, like I mentioned, Zoom calls, interviews, kind of one-on-one conversations, and limited use. Our phone booths are also something that we are trying to adapt to continue to be safe in light of COVID-19. So routine cleanings do take place in the phone booths. And additionally, we do have wipe dispensers outside of the phone booth. So after you use them, please wipe them down so the next person can use it safely. That goes into a little bit more about what we are doing to keep our spaces safe around the world. So when you get into our spaces, you will see lots of sanitization assets like hand sanitizer, wipes. We do have masks if you forget them at the community bar or if your ear strap breaks, which happened to me recently. So there are masks available at the community bar if you forgot yours. We do ask that you wipe down areas that you have used, like the phone booths, and you take care of your own personal dishes in order to keep everyone safe.
Sarah, I want to make sure we get to the questions. So, yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. One thing I'll just touch on here, in order to promote safe distancing in the space, you'll see these green dots. Green means go. So if you see a green dot and no one's sitting there, feel free to take up that space for the day or for the next hour. Also, in our common areas, you'll see a lot of signage and pillows in order to keep safe distancing. So I just ask that you look at the space with your eyes and ears and make sure that you are promoting safe distancing, not only just for your own safety, but the safety of the students that you're sharing the space with. In emergencies, first aid is at the community desk. If you have any special circumstances where you need assistance, please let our community team know at your first arrival so they can make accommodations confidentially for you. Emergency action plans are in the WeWork app, which I'll get into shortly. And then if there's ever a situation that we need it, there is CCTV footage that is taken in the space. This is the WeWork app. We ask that you download it once you get to a WeWork because it is a great way to stay engaged with our space, but also get help if you need it. So on this app, you can file support tickets, receive updates from the community team, and get important information like Wi-Fi, printing, and emergency action plans. So please, once you get to a WeWork space, be sure to download the WeWork app. And with that, that concludes my presentation, but certainly available for any questions that you have.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sarah. And this is very, very helpful. And I realize to the students that you're getting a lot of information, but I hope that you will ask us any questions. I see a number of questions in the Q&A chat, and I'm going to address those and ask my colleagues to help me address them one by one so that everybody can benefit from everybody else's questions and the answers we provide. I also want to remind the students that you can email any questions to cgc@columbia.edu. Paul, maybe you can put that in the chat room so that we can address any questions that you didn't have a chance to ask here. For some reason, I'm unable to open my Q&A. No, I've opened it. First question, is student under the age of 18 eligible to access the center and the WeWork location? We have a handful of people who are underage. Paul, how do we deal with that in 5 seconds?
Please send an email to cgc@columbia.edu. This is a location-specific question, so please contact us.
Okay. Second question from Zhao Yan. Can we talk or discuss our group projects in the WeWork dedicated sites? Absolutely. Again, observing physical distancing and using the various formats for the meeting rooms that Sarah went over. Next, what is the difference between Global Center and WeWork Space? Global centers are permanent establishments that Columbia has in a number of cities around the world, like Paris and Istanbul that I mentioned earlier. The WeWork spaces are temporary spaces that we are using as pop-up locations during this COVID crisis until everybody is able to be back on campus, okay? But in terms of how they're set up to provide you with the support that you need. Of course, a global center space, such as in Paris, it is subject to how that space was set up originally. The WeWork spaces look like exactly what Sarah just shared with you. Will there be spaces to take classes, private workspaces, or will it be communal? Again, as Sarah mentioned, some spaces are more private, other spaces are more communal, but they are all exclusive to your use. Think of it as going to the library on the Columbia campus. Are the WeWork sites Columbia dedicated, can only entered, okay, can somebody, whoever is working with the Q&A, not do that? Okay, I lost track of this. Are the Columbia dedicated spaces only accessible by Columbia students? Yes. Can they be accessed by other WeWork users? The building can be, but not the dedicated Columbia floors. Those cannot be. Is there a last day before which we have to pick up our cards? No, but we'd encourage you to do this sooner rather than later and start taking advantage of the opportunity. For Shanghai, I noticed that there's both a dedicated floor and all access pass. No, I think you misread that. In Shanghai, there's only a dedicated space at a WeWork building, okay? And that's the space that you will go to. The all access passes are available in the cities where we do not have either a global center or a WeWork dedicated space. Are all the facilities in the same country available to the students there? If you have an all access pass, you're not in a city where we have a WeWork dedicated space or a Columbia Global Center, then yes, you can use any of the WeWork facilities in that country, okay? And there's a reason, there's a logic behind this, and that is, take a city like Shanghai, where we have hundreds of students, okay? It makes much more sense for us to recreate a community space for you at one location where you can all go and study at different times or at the same time and so on. Okay, you're going to a Columbia space in Shanghai. If you're in Cairo and Cairo is not a good example, Dubai, where there is a WeWork facility, but there's only 2 of you in Dubai, okay? It doesn't make sense to have a dedicated Columbia space for you. And, you're not getting also 24/7 access, but we want to at least give you the flexibility to go to any WeWork space in Dubai, and WeWork has allowed for that to happen. Can I use WeWork's parking lot for free? Sarah?
I'd have to check for the specific location, but typically our sites are in major city areas and don't have their own parking lots. But our community teams would be more than happy to direct you to a parking lot that they recommend.
And WeWork will try to provide that for free. You'll try. And then for non-CU dedicated spaces, are they open 7 days a week? No. Only the WeWork Columbia dedicated spaces in those 7 cities, Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen, Seoul, Hong Kong, Singapore, and London, those are the only ones that are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The non-dedicated spaces where you have an all-access pass to a WeWork facility, that's available Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. And in the 7 global center sites in Paris, Istanbul, Amman, Nairobi, Tunis, Santiago, which I forgot to mention earlier, and Beijing, those are available only during the weekdays and according to the times that I gave you earlier. And if you're in Beijing, I imagine that you will not want to go to the global center in Beijing. You'd go to the WeWork site because that's just much larger and you will see more students there. When will the WeWork space in those other cities open? They're all open, okay? So you can get access now, as of tomorrow. Can a student access both the Global Center and the WeWork dedication? Yes, you can, and that's only true in Beijing. Beijing is the only place where there is the Global Center and the WeWork site, and I just went over the differences between the two. Is this open for alumni? Yes, it is, and we just need to know that, and you need to email us at cgc@columbia.edu so that we can walk you through what you need to do. How many people can use WeWork sites at the same time? Capacity has been planned around the numbers of students in those cities and what students responded to with the surveys. We have a limit on the number of people who can be at the Columbia dedicated spaces because we want to observe the best health and safety standards. If you do not find a comfortable space to work on, if the space is being overutilized on any specific day, there are communal spaces within the WeWork building, and you can talk to one of the members of the WeWork community team, and they will guide you somewhere where you can sit and study. But we do not expect there to be at least many instances where the spaces will be over capacity. Okay, I think we planned a lot of capacity. If we find that we need more capacity, then we will do that. Are Barnett College students able to access the alumni network? I was unable to log in. That specific question, maybe Paul, you can answer it by typing an answer. Are we allowed to go to other WeWork locations in our city that is not mentioned as Columbia dedicated space? Yes, if your city is not a Columbia dedicated space, you can go to any WeWork location. Is there any prayer room in every WeWork space, especially in Indonesia? Sarah?
I can check. There are, I believe, meditation and prayer rooms available in most of our locations, but I'll check specifically in Indonesia.
Okay. Will Global Center help us get visas to other countries' Global Center? I wish we could. I wish we could get you also visas to come to the United States if you don't have them. But unfortunately, we have no control over the State Department. We will have, by the way, we will have 2 programs coming up very soon at the sites. One of them will be on visa, and we're trying to bring in members of local consulates and embassies and the International Scholars and Students Office at Columbia University. We will also have another series of events for US citizens who are currently abroad on how to vote. What are the options for voting in the elections next month? Here, there's another question again about using any WeWork location, and this person, Jinyi Lu, is in Beijing. No, in Beijing, you have the choice of either the Global Center or the one WeWork site that Sarah showed you. You cannot go to any WeWork site there. Can I use parking lot? Can we answer that? Can we use the conference room 24/7? And is there a limit to how long we can use them? Sarah?
For our conference rooms and phone booths inside of your space, we ask that you use your discretion, but around 30 minutes. Obviously, if you're like 32 minutes, that's totally fine, but we just ask that you share the space.
Okay, and there's a question about security guards at night at the WeWork sites because, when it's 24 hours.
Yep, I believe in all sites there are security guards in the base buildings.
Okay. Then there are lots of questions about parking, Sarah. So I really think we should look into that. Private spaces for recording, streaming video presentations or lectures. Absolutely. I think those are the meeting rooms, the conference rooms, which you can book and you can use. And I mean, the spaces are magnificent, actually. I mean, I think, Sarah, maybe I'll want to move my Columbia office to one of your WeWork spaces.
We would love that.
Could someone quickly summarize differences between the dedicated WeWork and those in the other 50 locations? I'm happy to do that one more time. In 7 cities where we have lots of students, hundreds, sometimes thousands of you, those 7 cities are Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Singapore, Hong Kong, Seoul, and London. We have booked and we have arranged with WeWork dedicated floors that only Columbia University students can use, okay? So those are available 24/7, okay? Now, there are another 50 cities where in every one of those cities, there may be 1, 2, 3 of you, okay? So it did not make sense for us to have dedicated spaces in those cities. However, we wanna give you a place to go and study at. On the one hand, you can only access those Monday through Friday to 9 to 6, so that's constraining. On the other hand, you have flexibility that people at the dedicated site cities do not have, in that you can go to any WeWork site in those 50 cities. How do I prove that I have the credentials to enter WeWork site? If you've been registered, if you got an email from us, then you have the credentials. All you have to do, as Sarah and I said, when you appear at the WeWork site for the first time, is have a government ID with you. That's how they will verify that you have the proper credentials. In London, you also have to bring your passport. If your legal name is different on your government issued ID than it is in the way it is entered into the Columbia system, then bring your Columbia ID with you as well, just so that they can verify that. If you have an all access pass, can I also have access to conference rooms? Yes, you can. Okay, so through the community teams and app, you can book those things. Correct, Sarah? Okay.
That is correct. Yep.
Okay. What if my class is longer than 30 minutes and I need to speak in class? Then you can book it for longer than 30 minutes, right, Sarah?
Yep. I would say 2 things. One is you can certainly book or stay a little bit longer than 30 minutes. I think, just it's general mutual respect in the space and making sure that you're not hogging an amenity that other people would like to use. Also, if you are a person that is going to be working in a dedicated space, our dedicated space is traditionally office space. So it is designed and has acoustics for people to work and talk and be on the phones kind of all day. So typically if I have, multiple calls or need to speak up, I take that at my desk and it's totally fine. So try it out, see if that works for you. If not, you can always have some private space as well.
Thank you. Guys, WeWork loves Columbia, okay? So we're all doing this. We all love you. And we're doing this for the first time. And WeWork has assured us that they will be flexible. They will give you what you need as long as it's reasonable. So if you have needs that are beyond what we've talked about or what Sarah has presented, just talk to the community team over there. Where do we do the online attestation? Go to our website, to the Columbia Global Center's website. Read the email that you got from me and any subsequent emails you get from the Global Centers, and the links will be there. Do we need to use our Columbia email to sign in the WeWork app? Paul?
Sarah, can you clarify the app, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So once you attend this session in a couple of hours, you'll be able to download the app and have access, and it will recognize you as a Columbia student. And so please use your email that you submitted for the session so you can be recognized and download the app.
Yep. Here are a couple of really good questions also. If I only need to answer questions occasionally but orally during a live course lecture, can I use the WeWork main area for such courses lectures? The answer, yes, go ahead, Sarah.
I was going to say absolutely. You don't need to be silent in the communal spaces.
Yeah, you can. You don't have to scream, and there'll be enough distance between you and the next student, and other students will be doing that. So the answer is yes. Jason Wong is asking, could there be a possibility that this WeWork offering will be extended into spring, depending on the campus reopening plans? You will be told via email. The university has not made any decisions about the spring yet. Once it makes those decisions, that will impact this, but that is certainly a possibility, okay? Is there a way to reserve a time in advance for a private space within the dedicated WeWork floor?
Yeah, as of right now, there isn't. It will be first come, first serve. However, I think it would be great to get feedback on how that's working and see if we can, if there's a need to have something more bookable, we can begin working that out. Or if it's working first come, first serve, we'll continue on that road.
Okay, 2 more questions and then we'll let everybody go. What can we, new international students, expect in terms of getting our Columbia ID card? I don't have an answer for you, and this is why we are not relying exclusively on your Columbia ID card or uni. But we will have a series of sessions with the International Students and Scholars Office, and we can address those questions there. There was one last question that now I don't see, but I wanted to share with everybody. And that is, if you have not received an email from CGC, you must complete the registration form. Paul, can you put that in the chat for all students, okay? And because, you heard about this from a friend, we want you to tell your friends. We want you to tell your friends. We've done our best reaching as many students as we can, given the lists that have been made available to us by the International Students Office and by the individual schools. But we realize that there are people that we have not been able to reach. So please reach out to them and tell them to go to globalcenters.columbia.edu/UIIS, which Paul has just put in there, and ask them to please register. If you're on this webinar and you have not registered and you have not received an email from us, just go there and enter yourself into the registration form, and then we will have you and we will be able to get back to you. Okay? Sorry for going a little bit over time, but thank you, everyone. And please, please, please take advantage of this opportunity. We've invested a lot of time, effort in making it available to you because we really feel that this could help you a great deal in this very difficult time. Let us know if you have any suggestions. Let us know if you have any questions, and spread the word. Okay? Thank you. Bye.